Right, I'm just going to do a quick follow-up video again for a few stocks I was looking at. I know a few people did want me to see what my thoughts were on 4D, which is also one of the, I only really hold two stocks, which is 4D and BZT, and everything else I kind of trade. All right, now 4D has kind of been swinging around in the wind for a while, and it's kind of frustrating. Because I do honestly feel that we should be a lot higher than we are already. Now, as you can see, there has been a lot of pressure on any attempt at a bullish rise, at any attempt of a break of resistance. There has been some pressure, but we are starting to form a pattern here, and it's quite a clear pattern. This is a fall-in wedge that we're producing here. Now, we've come down into the 200 period moving average on the daily. Now, yesterday, I didn't actually think this was going to hold us up. I just wasn't kind of overly keen on this pattern. I know some people might try and say this is a head and shoulders, and it does kind of look like a head and shoulders. But again, I wouldn't be charting this as a head and shoulders because, you know, the target of a head and shoulders pattern, if you were going to, it would be the depth of the head to the neckline, all right, which would be somewhere down here, all right, and there's no fucking way you're going to get that target all the time your arsehole points down. So initially, I just looking at the candles, I thought that we might be coming down here into the weekly 50. Now, considering we've actually never tested the weekly 50 when we come up on this big bull run last year, and we have now tested the daily 200. You know, if we test the weekly 50, that's great. It's always good to test a big support like that before the next move up, because it prevents people trying to use that to sell down into as a buy target later on. So I did think, or you know, may still well think that this is going to continue inside this falling wedge for now, and highly likely as we start to pull up into this zone, we're probably going to get a bounce off the 50, and that's going to give us the support we need to move upwards. Now, the only thing that kind of puts a spanner in the works for me about that is this sudden volume that's coming into LBPS last evening. Now, I mean, this is a huge... I mean, firstly, let's talk about the pattern, all right? Like, this is a really strict pattern. And now, I know across a lot of other time frames, it's just, I mean, you know, TradingView is just not picking up the candles. And it's only when you go to the daily and the weekly that you can actually see, you know, the candlestick patterns. Now, this is a strict fucking pattern. This is super, super strict. This is like fucking Miss Trunchbull strict, all right? Like, this is beautiful. And we're coming to the apex. I mean, this is a really big pennant. And you can see we're testing the upper trend line here as well, which is going to be resistance for us. You can see down on the RSI here, you know, we are kind of breaking the high on the RSI, which is obviously very bullish. And look at this massive fucking, this massive volume candle coming up. Now, we're about 4.5 times relative volume yesterday. All right, so the current average volume, we're about 4.5 times higher than that, which is fucking enormous, and a huge amount of shares changed hand yesterday. Now, if this is a legitimate buyer, this is like really exciting stuff, because someone is loading up big. Like, this is over $1 million worth of shares that's been taken on board. Now, if this is true, because they always say volume precedes price action, and if you ever get this kind of abnormal volume coming into a stock, you need to watch, because there's a good chance that the following day or the day after, the stock can absolutely rip. Now, obviously, we're going into a bank holiday weekend. I may add to my position today. I may wait for the US Open just to see what happens. But obviously, I don't want to be out of the market if something happens on the US side come Monday and they start playing with the stock. So, I mean, we're looking to break this. And up until now, obviously, the main liquidity has been on 4D, and I know they've struggled to get liquidity into LBPS on the US side. So 4D has been the price driver. But this pattern, I mean, 4D's in a fallen wedge, which is bullish, but it is kind of just swinging around in the wind. And LBPS is in this really strict pennant. Now, if this starts to break out, and this is legitimate buying volume, and this isn't just people converting their shares, because I know there's an option to convert their shares. Maybe this is just, the brokerage is converting people's shares now into LBPS. But if this isn't, and this is, the Americans buying the stock, this is huge. And I really do think if we break out here, you might see a liquidity flip. And at some point you're going to get it anyway. I still think that LPPS is going to be the driver, and it's going to be the stock that drives the 4D price, and it won't be 4D itself. So this is going to be a big one to watch for me today, coming into US Open. Whether we fulfill the rest of this pattern, I don't know, but I just want to see what happens with this volume candle, because this is fucking crazy. BZT, I'll do a quick update on BZT. Like I say, anyone that sold, unfortunately, you're a mug. Again, a lot of people crying pump and dump. And like I said on one of the forums, I used to be part of coordinated pump and dumps when I was younger. And I'm telling you right now, coordinated pump and dumps will fucking, they're gonna put you up like here, even higher. And everyone's got, a set entry and a set exit. So everyone can, have a little piece of the pie. Now this is, to pull up almost 100% in a week, this is just completely natural to pull back here. So people crying and selling off their positions, you're just going to get absolutely fucking chewed up. You should not be doing that. We've already had this first wave. We're coming up again into the, the weekly resistance. And, once you break this, you're unshackling the price. Like on the smaller time frames, BZT is looking to run again, in my opinion. You can see you have, you've had your bull flag, right? So you've kind of come up, and you've got your, you've had your flag, which you've kind of broken here, which you can see. Now BZT is trying to break out this flag pattern. Now this is absolute fucking textbook. You start to close out of here. You start to, close a few candles out of here. You can see the MACD supporting an upwards move. The RSI is turning up, which is lovely momentum. You've got, more volume coming in here. This is perfect. This is exactly what you want to see to support, a continuation move. Also, I did hear that Colin had flown out to Zambia. Whether that is true, there'd be no reason for him to be suddenly flying out to Zambia. So if that is true, maybe something's bubbling out there. I know that the geophysics crew on site, and we're doing more work on that. So this is, again, one to watch. I still think BZT is going to continue. We may have like a few days of consolidation, like I said before, but the minute we break up into this area, stuff's going to get exciting. All right, in the coming weeks, this is going to start fucking moving big time. So don't let anyone sway your opinion. Not even me. But you've got to stick to your guns. Stop listening to people, pump and dump, and this is this, and scaring you out of your positions, because you're just going to get fucking whitewashed. It's got a shit spread, so it can be really deceiving. When you're flicking between the bid and the ask, it can look like the price is, jumping up and down, but it's not. Like I could change that with a tiny order and make it look like that's 10% down. So BZT, again, big watch for me. I've still got a big position in that, and I'm going to keep that. So that's another one to watch. Gun, I have a quick overview of Gun. Now, I find Gun's a really funny one for me, because I think this also has got banger written all over this. The problem being here is I kind of feel like this should have gone already. I kind of feel like somebody somewhere with a large holding, or possibly a trader with a, or this is being heavily traded by a few traders. But I don't know. I just find this unusual. I just think that I just feel like it should have gone. I feel like perhaps on this candle here, you kind of had it's almost like a ball pennant, all right? And then you've had your break. And then it's immediately rejected. Now we're still struggling now on the weekly to get over the weekly 20 period moving average, but I'm not concerned just yet. Obviously, if we break this low here, it's entirely possible you come down here, right, to test the weekly 50. That's completely and absolutely possible. I would look for this line of support here to keep Gun up. And again, I still think Gun's going to move. The one good thing is the averages are coming up pretty fast. And obviously, if you can get above the 20 here, the 20, you're squeezed right into this area already. but I just feel like it should have gone. I feel like someone is playing the market with Gun. I feel like someone's accumulating, and I feel like someone's keeping the fucking price down. The thing is, like, if you look at the daily 100 here, I mean, you can see every time you've had, especially recently, it's come down and touched here on the daily 100. You can see the volume coming in. I mean, someone here is buying up every time we've touched it. So it's being bought up, it's being bought up, it's being bought up. But equally, it's being rejected. So I don't know if there's a couple of traders really trading this channel and squeezing it, but I feel like there's a bit of manipulation going on here. I definitely feel like Gun should have popped by now. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that one. Finally, I will do Deepverge. Now, Deepverge is one I thought was going to go a long time ago as well. I still think there's a fabled area in and around here, around the 37. I think the minute we can get a monthly close above 37 on Deepverge, that is going to be absolutely ready to pop. On the lower time frames, you can see that this is kind of producing like it's almost like an ascending triangle, all right? You can see, if I come down like into here, you can just see this kind of ascending triangle pattern starting to play out, okay? Now, again, this has been going on for months now. I mean, you're talking like 7 months, all right? And you can see the respect of the candlesticks. You've obviously had the open here. You've got like candles wicking up against it. These 3 candles as well. The most recent candles here, definitely respecting this area of 35. So again, if you start closing the weekly above here, I mean, that's going to be an early trigger to say, yeah, this is going to start moving. I know some people will probably be drawing it like this, which is more of kind of an ascending wedge, which is actually a bearish pattern, although I don't consider this being bearish. This is your support. So I just think, you've maybe only got a week or 2 left to squeeze up inside of here, and you're going to get a break either way. Obviously, I wouldn't want to break down this support because it's been our support for some time. And obviously, Deepverge, very reputable company, a lot on the pipeline. I do see this going places. So again, you get a weekly close above, 35, and that's very, very, very fucking bullish for the stock. If you can get a monthly close above 37, then I would be really seriously betting on some moves in Deepverge. So that is also one I'm watching. Now, as a flick back, I will flick back quickly to 4D, because I did forget to mention XBI. Now, XBI is obviously the S&P Biotech Index. So this is the collection of all the biotechs in the S&P. And again, when all the rest of the market was pumping and all the other different sectors were being lit up, the biotech sector was getting absolutely hammered. It was one of the only sectors where everything was going up, biotech was going down. But what you generally find in stocks, all right, is you get like vogue stocks. Okay, so last year you had the COVID stocks. The COVID stocks were huge. People were pumping the COVID stocks. Anything that was any relation to COVID got hit big time. Now, as time moves on and the market changes, something else becomes vogue. I'm not necessarily saying that COVID stocks are shit now, but you're going to lose a lot of volume from the stock because people like to chase what's in fashion, not necessarily just what sector's moving. Obviously, you then had the Bitcoin sympathy plays with Bitcoin. Anything associated with Bitcoin, miners got absolutely fucking pumped. Recently, you had the NFTs. Anything related to an NFTs got pumped. Now, the biotech sector has been in a downtrend for ages, and I feel like where last year it was very vogue with the whole COVID thing, I do feel like at some point this is going to come back in. Now, people, even in the States, were saying this is a fucking head and shoulders. And I was saying, and I probably wasn't the only one saying it, no, yes, that does look like a fucking head and shoulders. However, generally with a head and shoulders as well, you have a higher volume in the head, which you don't have. And also, when you have a head and shoulders with a downtrend, when you've got like a falling downtrend support, you end up actually creating like a falling wedge. Okay, so I mean, automatically, even if it was a head and shoulders, kind of by proxy, you've created this sort of pattern, which is a falling wedge, which is actually really bullish. So, and not just that, unless you're fucking Quasimodo and you've got 3 shoulders, it's not a head and shoulders. So the Yanks were constantly calling this, it's a head and shoulders, it's going to crash further. I really didn't think it would. Obviously, you have to be aware of a lot. Equally, You had the weekly, come down onto the weekly. It had a beautiful touch on the weekly 50. And again, this is now the biotech sector looking really fucking bullish again. Really, really bullish. And obviously, if the biosector becomes bullish, then all the other biotech stocks are going to follow, right? Because it's an indication of the sector in general. Now, I know 4D isn't necessarily tied to the XBI, because obviously that's the S&P biotechs, which are the most heavily weighted ones, but it will be for the NBI. Now, the NBI is obviously the Nasdaq, the Nasdaq biotech index. Now, this I feel like is almost like a week ahead of XBI, and you can see the difference. XBI, you've had the break, and you kind of got that bullish break of the wedge. NBI is you've already had the break of kind of like that downtrend, and now you've had the pullback. You've already had the run into the support, and you've had the pullback. So on that, again, I'm probably expecting you're probably going to pull back into the little top area here, and then I'm hoping you're going to see something like this. And if you start getting this, it's going to be very, very bullish for 4D and all of the markets. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. But personally, you know, the XBI is a good index to follow, but I would be keeping my eyes on the NBI as well, because that's what we're more closely tied to. So yeah, there's a rundown. BZT, GUN, DDD, DVRG, and we'll see what happens. But the big one for me at the moment, the one that's still moving, is BZT. Like, you say what you fucking want. I see lots of people moaning. A lot of the GGP fanboys as well hate people drawing comparisons, but it is what it is. When you've got a tiny little market cap company, a piddly little market cap company, you know, you need a yardstick for things to compare it against. And when you have a huge resource, and a huge resource, even more than GGP, and again, we're talking about mainly a copper play here. I know the GGP fanboys love talking about gold, which is fine, and you know, but you know, the big thing about BZT for me is the copper, because we're going into a huge copper bull market. And again, copper's just hit all-time highs, and there's a chance you could go 50% up on that as well. So we'll see what happens, but this is set the bang. I told you BZT was set the bang. I still see a continuation here in the coming weeks, and I still think we're going to 10 back. Good luck, motherfuckers.